Hi, this is Patricia Stepler's Your Dream Power. Awareness is everything. And the more aware of a person you are, the more success you're going to have in your life. Right now, the world is accelerating at such a speed that if we're not aware of what's going on around us, we can get really lost. Not too long ago, I heard Darren Hardy talk about the world changing and what worked 10 years ago doesn't work anymore, and how we're accelerating at a point where in the early or the late 80s or early 90s, we went over the tipping point of acceleration. And according to Darren Hardy, in his information, he said that by the end of the 21st century, we will not experience 100 years of growth. We will actually experience about 20,000 years of growth. Now, think about that, because if you go back into, let's even go back to the 1400s, look how slowly things happened then. But now every year is like living 200 years of prior history. So everything's new to everybody. I remember not too long ago when my one daughter was in college, and she was in a lot of technology fields. And I would ask her for help with my computer and something I was working on, and she could easily do that. In fact, she did it too quickly. And instead of really helping me, she just did it for me. And I kept telling her, that doesn't help me if you're doing everything for me. So skip forward 10 years, and she knows her programs. I know my programs. We really can't help each other anymore. My husband even says, he used to help me a lot with my computer, and he can't either, because there's so much knowledge out there. There's so much technology, so many different programs, so many different sites that you work with that you can't know them all anymore. So you just become an expert at the ones that you know. Well, maybe some of us don't even become experts at them, but we learn how to maneuver around them. So things are changing very, very quickly. And we're still operating, our brains are operating on a system that was used 200,000 years ago. So we have to really start to, figure out how can we do this. And this is why people are so overwhelmed and overworked and become very frustrated. And, that overwhelm and overstress leads into some of the mental illness that people are having, because everything's just going so quickly. It used to be that the more knowledge you had, the more you could expect, and people would hire you because of your knowledge. But today it's too easy to find knowledge. All you have to do is Google it, and you can find all the knowledge you need. Today, it's what can you accomplish? What results can you get? And that's what businesses and business owners and entrepreneurs are looking for. It's not the knowledge. It's what do you do? What can you do to make a difference? So knowing the levels of awareness will help you to expand and to start thinking about where you are on this chart and what you need to do to move forward. So at the very bottom of the chart, this is what we call the animalistic part of awareness. And this is what every animal in the animal kingdom has. They have awareness. They live through their senses. They react to everything that's happening. When you become more aware, you start to respond. You start to stop and look at a situation and think. Now, I don't know about you, but I see a lot of people out there reacting. And I think a lot of that is due to that overwhelm, that overstress, that overstimulation that people are getting, because things are moving so quickly and they feel like they're out of control. And when you feel out of control, you tend to react. We have to learn how to respond to situations so that we do so in a reasonable and thinking method. And so everybody can deal with the senses. And when you're in that animalistic, you are dealing with your five senses. You're dealing with the outside world and what it's giving to you. When we move up to the next level, it's mass mentality. What do the masses think? And we tend to go along with the masses. Like why do people eat lunch at noon? Is it because they're hungry or because that's what everybody else does? And we have to start looking at, are we just following others or are we starting to think for ourselves? When we start to move with the masses and we have that group think and we have the group mentality, we're only on a second level of awareness. So let's move beyond the masses. Let's move to the third level, which is aspiration. This is when you get an idea of something you'd like to do, maybe something you'd like to be, something you'd like to have, and it inspires you to move to something higher, to move to a higher level. And you want to break away from the mass thinking because you start to see things that you do not like, and you want to be different. And you want to have your own uniqueness. And so you move into this aspiration level. And if we keep moving forward, we move to being an individual. Well, being an individual requires that uniqueness of human beings to be expressed. And this is when we can start to develop those higher level thinking skills. We can develop the reasoning skill that we have in our intellectual faculties. And we start to use our imagination. We're going to aspire and we want to develop that uniqueness within ourselves. Then we have to go to the next level. Level 5 is discipline. Discipline is giving yourself a command and following it. And this is how you break away. You are able to turn those things that maybe you don't like to do into habits that you just do. I was talking to my son the other day and I said, there's a lot of habits that we have that we've developed because of discipline that maybe we don't like to do, but we do it. I said, one of them is if I come in late at night and it's midnight or 1 o'clock or whatever, I have developed the discipline that I always take my makeup off at night because I know it's better for my skin. It's not that I want to do that. I'd rather just crawl in bed, but I have the discipline to do that. And so there's things that we don't necessarily like to do that we do. And this happens with businesses. Most people don't like to make calls. But when you discipline yourself that this is what you need to do in order to grow your business, it becomes a habit and you no longer think about it. You just do it, which is the way all habits are. We hop in our car and going to the grocery store, or going to the mall or wherever you're headed, and you just go. You don't have to think about it. You know where you're headed. And so it's just become a habit. The problem is that when we get to this level, your uniqueness starts to break away. And if you cannot go to the next level, which is experience, where you're going to gain that experience and you're going to change your results, what happens is you start to get pulled back towards the masses. And if you allow yourself to stop, you allow yourself to, again, become consumed by living through your senses instead of using your intellectual faculties that you have, like your imagination and your memory and your reasoning and your intuition, your perception and your will, and you start to allow yourself to slip back into your senses, then you go back to the mass living. And it's easy to do, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a business person, you have your own business. Sometimes it can become very frustrating and you can be thinking, maybe a job would be easier to have. Well, that's living with the masses. And that's fine if that's what you want. But if you're aspiring to something that's different and uniquely you, then you have to resist that temptation to go back to the masses. So when you get to the 6th level, which is experience, you gain experience, you change your results, and you're able to follow those commands, that discipline that you've set up for yourself. Whether it's something you like to do or not, you're a disciplined individual and you can go through and follow with it. And then that will lead you to mastery, which is the highest level. When you have mastered a concept, you stop allowing the physical world to dictate to you, and you are now in control. And instead of reacting to situations, you respond to them. This is Patricia Stepler with your Dream Power. I want you to be the magic in your dreams. And I also want you to come to the Stop Chasing Shiny Objects Summit, which is May 10th through 12th. The details are below. And I have some of the greatest speakers coming in to show you how to move through those levels of awareness so you can move away from the masses. You can become uniquely you, and you can rise to the top of mastery. I'll see you there next week.